foresee changing and evolving both locally for you in New York, but in the world, generally speaking, after this very, very rough year?
Yeah, so that is actually a great question. So part of my work, it's I would say 90% of the time, was to encourage more. So I work with nonprofits, and part of that work was to help them understand that a lot of the work they do, especially on the field, can be done using our technology. So the remote work has been a huge piece on all of this. And I think the way I see the world changing or evolving is a lot of people understood that could this be a meeting or can I do this over Teams? And the way people work is definitely changing. And I think we're going to need to shape the world, the professional world, and the companies are going to need to change the way we work today. And yeah, I think that's going to be the major change. Remote work became a thing for everyone, and that was something we tried to explain before, that it's possible and it's doable. And I think that's the biggest change I see in the world.
Yeah, for me personally, I have been working from home for at least 3 years, so this is normal to me. But it was always very hard for me to explain to people before COVID what that means, what working from home means. And I guess at least now, when I say I work from home, people understand.
Definitely, definitely. I keep saying this. I've been with Microsoft for 17 years. And I'd say a large part of that period of time was working from home. So besides the fact that I don't travel anymore and I don't do presentations face to face, I don't meet and greet people anymore, which I think I miss a lot. But other than that, this is like normal to me. So I
Business
think
as usual.
yeah, we are one
Same.
step ahead because we already doing it. So I think we didn't have such a hard time as other people to, understand what is a day working from home, right? I have like my office and I just go from, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, if you will, and you just keep doing it and working. It's just another day in the office.
Absolutely.
Outside of the working experience itself, do you see, talking about New York, for example, it used to be a buzzing city and they say now it's like a desert. Do you see New York coming back to what it was before COVID? Or do you think that COVID overall will change the culture and the essence of the city in a long term?
That is actually a great question. So, yes, New York became a little bit of a ghost town, but it's mostly for instance, our office is in Times Square, is in the heart of Times Square. So when you go today, you will see that it's empty because for two reasons. People are no longer in the office, and there are no tourists. So if you think about that, it becomes a little ghosty because you see a lot of, unfortunately, homeless and a lot of people just hanging around, and that's where it was there before. It just we couldn't see it because there were millions of people per day. I think what is the biggest problem is you see all the offices are now empty, and I think what the city is trying is to bring us back. So right now we are reaching stage 3. So what it means is we can now opt in or out for an hybrid environment. So I actually applied to do hybrid. What it means is you can work from home and you have the option to go in the office after approval from Microsoft, the company you work with. A lot of people are going back in the office, and I don't think that is known for the rest of the world, but people are slowly coming back. But I think it's gonna take a while. What I think about New York is, New York is, I think New Yorkers are tough, and we always find a way to make the best of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, right now it's getting like super cold outside. So we only have outdoor dining and we only have 25% indoor. Still, a lot of people are not doing indoor. So what we do is, you dress uh, with several layers so you can just enjoy and being outside. So I think that's the thing about New Yorkers is we've always find a way to okay, how do I adjust? And unfortunately, when COVID started, there was a huge percentage of infected because people wouldn't. Also, the number of people is much different than the other city. Just inside the city, it's more than 8 million people. So if you think about it, and the fact that it's mandatory to wear a mask at all times outside, it makes sense because the population is wider than any other city. So that's the reason. So as soon as we understood, okay, this is what we need to do, people just do it because we want to move to the next phase. But I think, I think New York is going to change, not in a bad way. I think we're going to rise again, and rebuild the city. And because that's the move, we often say, I'm walking over here. It's a very like, if you ever been in the city, if someone is walking slowly, I get super stressed and nervous. Like, come on, I'm walking over here. And I think that says a lot about New York. I keep moving, can't stop. And okay, I can go to this side, I go to the right side. And I think that's gonna be like this. And I talk to people who live here for the last 20 years, and New York in the 80s was much, much different than it is now. And that's what they say. We will always reinvent ourselves, and we go do something else. And places closed. There are a lot of places who are closed right now, but something else will gonna come up. Something else is gonna open, and we're just gonna continue. So we have a lot of faith in that. Although a lot of people left the city because they feel New York as I know it is dead. It's gone. And so I am trying to still be patient and see the best out of it, but we'll see how it goes in the next 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
So you mentioned you've been at Microsoft for 17 years already, but I know you haven't started at Microsoft, nor in this job, nor in this location. So can you share with us the journey so far? Even there probably is a world before Microsoft. So if you can just share with us your journey till this date by locations, but also by jobs, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time. I feel old. So I didn't want to work in IT going back to when I was 17. I always loved numbers, finance. That's what I wanted to do. And one day I was like, you know what? I need a year off of this. So I just tried my first IT training, and I was like, I love this because I can keep learning, and it never gets boring, and that's how I need to be challenged all the time. So I was like, okay, I think I want to do this for a living. So what I did, I started to work very early age. I was 17. I was always studying and working at the same time. I'm not from Lisbon. I moved there when I was 18 on my own, like a dreamer, a backpack, and no money at all. And always that time. So, it was a long time ago. I'm talking about 22 years ago. To be a woman and working in IT was a big challenge. I'm not gonna lie. I remember my first training for Microsoft. We were 20 people in the classroom. I was the only girl. At the time, I was 20 years old, very, very young. And it took me 16 different interviews in 16 different companies to get a job. First, I was a woman. Second, I was very young, so no one would hire me. Although my colleagues, they were hired at the same age. So that's when I think I first understood, okay, this is not going to be as easy as I thought it would be. So I started to teach Microsoft official curriculum for a Portuguese company called Romus and Galileo, two of them actually. And I thought, okay, this is the path I have. I'm going to take it, get the best out of it. That's what I always do. And my dream was always to work for Microsoft. I'm not going to hide that. I always wanted to work for Microsoft. And at the time I was working for a Portuguese bank. I worked for a few Portuguese banks, and I met someone who was working for Microsoft. And I remember he said to me, you got to persist and persist and persist and persist. And I said, you know what? You're right. So one day, someone approached me, a friend of a friend, and said, we are hiring, and we're starting a call center in Portugal, in English, and we can only promise you 6 months. And I was like, what do? I am a full-time employee, but I can just get, I was like, I'm too young to stay with a job I don't like. So I went for the interview, and when I started the interview in English, and someone asked me, do you speak French? I was like, I do. My parents used to live in Switzerland. I was raised between Portugal and Switzerland. I actually speak French. And guess what? They decided, what if we start a call center in French with you? I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I remember they offered me, my base pay was not what I should have, but I was like, I'll take it, whatever, I just want to get in. And in my mind, I think the fact that I always thought this is just such a great opportunity. I have 6 months to a year to prove myself. And I remember after 2 years, I was the first person in a large team to be hired as a full-time employee. And I think that was because I was like really working and putting a lot of effort. After that, I did support for 5.5 years. I worked for all the Western Europe, French, English, and Portuguese in the end. And then I moved as a premier field engineer. I wanted to go in the field, and just, hands-on and have customer face, which I did in Portugal for 6 years. And then I said, you know what, I need to fly. And I took an opportunity in Canada, and I moved to Toronto, where I stayed for a year. And then I had some personal changes in my life, and I made the decision to go back to Portugal as a technical account manager. I was managing what it doesn't exist anymore, SMSNP customers, public sector, and EPG. I was on all of 3 of them. It was a very, very good position because I learned the other side of Microsoft. Why? It made me look, okay, this is the support. This is very, very much engineering. And now I'm going to understand, how to manage big accounts, where's the money, it's a little bit of sales. So I learned what I didn't know for 2.5 years. And I was getting ready to take a consultant job for Office 365 in London. And on that same day, I was getting the proposal. I got a proposal to come work in New York City.
Wow.
And I always wanted to live in New York City. But in my mind, I was like, maybe I'm too old, It's another, I moved 6 times in those 2 years from place to place. And I became a minimalist. I don't have my stuff. You have to keep everything very small because I kept moving, and I was like, I just moved to this new apartment that I love in the city. I'm rebuilding my life. I'm not going to do it. And I remember my best friend looked at me and I said, when you stay in New York, your eyes get sparkles. So I think you should just follow your dreams. And I was like this. So I was on vacation here when I got the interview. It was, I think when the universe has something planned for you, everything falls into place without me controlling or doing anything. So then I got the job. It wasn't the job I was dreaming about, but I made the decision, this is the place I want to live. So I came back as a premier field engineer for 2.5 years or so. And then I got this huge opportunity to work for a startup that started inside within Microsoft, which is called Tech for Social Impact. We are under philanthropists within Microsoft, and what we do is support our nonprofits around the world. So I remember when someone asked me, how would you feel to work for nonprofits and be good at like doing the technology side? I was like, is that even possible? Because I did volunteer in Africa before with Microsoft. I've always been involved in that world. So it was like a dream come true. So I joined that team in the end of 2018, June 2018, where I've been ever since. And I'm already planning my next role within the team. And it's very challenging. It's a lot of, it's a new world, as you said, for COVID. And we have a lot of challenges because nonprofits are now facing two major problems. It's the volunteers, because we can no longer volunteer as we used to, and you can no longer engage people. A lot of our nonprofits are suffering from not having the donations, and so that has been a challenge. But at the same time, it's good because at the end of the day, you're selling technology, because we sell technology, software, licensing, but we also, and at the end of the day, I contributed to this mission. It's good when you turn on the TV, you go on Good Morning America, you see Make-A-Wish going live, and we are in the back assisting them with live events through Teams. And I'm part of something bigger. So I am contributing for this mission, their mission, I think. That's
absolutely. And Claudia, what are some of the learnings from living and working in so many different countries? You mentioned minimalism, so I guess that's one of them. But what are maybe other learnings from that experience?
Yeah, man, that's great. Great question. I think the first time you moved and no one prepared you for that is the emotional connection you keep to your country. And being Portuguese, I feel like we're very, very connected to our roots, to our family. We have a huge history as a country. So I feel like I heard this many times, like it's like I carry my flag, and I'm so proud of saying I am Portuguese. That makes me always proud. But I think no one prepares you for, I think in the beginning it's exciting. New world, new place, and new friends. After 2-3 months, you start to go down and okay, I think I miss a lot of things I didn't know I would miss. And I think that's part of what you sign up for, but no one prepares you for that. And you miss a lot of things. You listen to Fado and you want to cry because, oh my gosh, I miss my family, miss my friends, everything. But I think after that, if you do a little bit of disconnect from the emotion and you see everything else, it's okay, what can I take from this place? So I have a rule: when I move to a city, I always move into the city. I live downtown or live in a place that I know I'm not going to be here for a long time. So I want to take the best of it. I want to take the best of the city. So that's the first thing. And I think the second thing one must do is create a routine for yourself. So what I'm trying to say is, first time around, no one prepared me for this. Second time around, and I arrived Saturday. On Sunday, and this is no joke, I moved to an apartment. I went to do groceries. I went to subscribe as a member at the local gym. So it's like I want to start to have things to do, my routine, and that's when you start living or fitting into the city. I think the challenges is always going to be different culture, have different ways of living, either we want it or not. And I feel like American culture can be very distant from not even Portuguese, European culture. So there's a lot of things you gotta adjust. But as I often hear friend of mine that is Portuguese and has been living here for 14 years, I remember the first thing he said to me is, there's a lot of things I wouldn't accept if I was in Portugal, but I gotta understand I'm living in a different country, and now I have to have I have to be open to accept things that I wouldn't otherwise. So I think if you open your mind and okay, what can I take from this experience? What can I learn from this? What I think the essential thing is about all of this, I think I became more and more tolerant to other cultures, more accepting other people and other cultures. And I think that's something that when you live in one single place all your life, it's harder to do or to achieve, because you live like in your bubble, and now you break your bubble and you go outside, and you also have to expose yourself and know different people, you know, and adjust the place where you are. But I would say like the what I miss the most is the food too. I miss the food. I miss the food a lot, and of course my family, my friends, and as I said, the cultural side of it. It's a huge part. So that, right? Portuguese
So
word.
that absolutely that's the Portuguese, you know, Portuguese soul and pride, and we can see that in you. And am I right in saying that your earrings are very Portuguese today?
See, there
They
you go.
are.
See, that's the little things. I am proud of my heritage, and
Absolutely.
I never forget where I come from. And I think deep down, I don't know if it's too cute to say, but I will say it. Every Portuguese in the end dreams to go back someday.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting because myself as well, I live in the UK, and I live in Reading. It's not New York, it's not London, but I can feel what you're talking about, being exposed to many different cultures, because I would compare the UK with the European America, which is where you see a lot. And I do believe that having this being facing this diversity helps you develop empathy, and I think that's really important today more than ever. I think we're in this autopilot to a very unempathetic world, and I think having empathy is something that stands out and is very important for you to develop sometime in your life. And I do agree that being exposed, having to leave your comfort zone and just be dropped in the middle of the ocean, and like now just rebuild your life from scratch and move forward, I think it's such a growing experience, and I would recommend everyone. I know it's very difficult to move around more than ever, but definitely is an experience that I would definitely recommend, and I do resonate as well quite a bit. But going back to your core role today, you mentioned I'm a salesperson working from nonprofit, and it's quite interesting because even myself growing up, I had this idea, oh, you're rich, so why don't you give money, loads of money to the poor people to grow them back to a level where everyone is at the same level and can basically evolve and develop. However, with time, I went to uni, I started working as well, and very quickly I understood that actually giving money is like opening a black hole and just pouring money, and not necessarily you will have outcomes from that money. So can you just share with us your perspective on this one? I know giving money is still important, is a key is key for these nonprofits, but we need people like you with structure for the nonprofits as well. Can you just share this two-view world to us for everyone to understand? Because sometimes it's not very clear to people why money is not enough.
Yeah, actually, that's very, very, very true. And to your point is when people see my name or LinkedIn or try to connect, they're like, oh, I want to work for a nonprofit. So the first thing I say is, look, I don't work in the nonprofit. I work in the corporate world. So that should say something. And the other thing is, I do indeed work under philanthropy, and we do donate millions, billions per year. So we do have that side where it's purely philanthropic, as you know, probably you read over the news. Bill and Melinda Gates are number one philanthropic people in the corporate world. So we do indeed give donations. But to your point, and it's great point, is that enough that I give my money away, or should I just empower them? And how could we do that as Microsoft? So what we thought is I have to be able to enable those people to go on the extra mile. And how do I enable people? I give you a scenario. What good is it I give $100 to a volunteer that is in a remote location in Namibia to do what? It has nothing to do. So what if I enable that volunteer with a mobile phone where it can have Teams, where it can communicate with the rest of his team spread around the world, and be able to remotely connect with that same team? And what else can he take from that? Can he use Office 365? Can he have email? Can he have meetings? Can he have calls? And that's how we see technology. It's enabling volunteers, enabling first-line workers, nonprofits to be able to connect. For instance, I work with Mercy ships, all over the ocean. It's really hard for them to be and stay connected. So what we do is we also give them donations like Doctors Without Borders, IRC, International Rescue Committee. So these are things we work and we give them money, but and then our team, Tech for Social Impact, we come in as like, okay, we got the money, so you can buy the hardware, right? We also give them surfaces. We do that. So we install them, we do that as a volunteer activity as a team. But okay, now we have all of this. What do you need? I need software, all right? I need the licensing. So where do we come in? We give them discounts of 70% of the price for commercial. So that's a huge discount. And we give them Teams for free in the licensing for free for nonprofits. So that's the way of us as Microsoft to help them to be able to do that extra mile in terms of technology. And that's how we connect, and that's how we drive impact in their mission. Because if you give them money, that's not enough. They don't have the resources in the house. They don't know what is security. There's so many things they don't have because they usually work 5 people, do the entire thing. So they don't have human resources to deal with that. They don't have the licensing, they don't have the technology. So we gotta come in and provide them with a means to their ends. And that's where we come in. And that's why it's so important that we bring the technology and the knowledge, all the people that work in my team. We are the subject matter experts that are always there to assist them and to show them the way in all the sides of Azure, Office 365, CRM, Dynamics, everything, artificial intelligence. So we're bringing heavily for nonprofits, especially now during COVID. I don't want to talk too much, but during COVID, we have a lot of nonprofits dedicated to healthcare. So that's where we could really, really make a difference. We bring bookings to them where we create a way for them to have patients, and connect to the doctors and around the world in the field. That's where you can see the difference you can make. But the thing is, all companies are ready to help any corporate, any commercial, as we call customer. But there was no one that would help the nonprofits. So they were just on their own. And that's, even yesterday, I was in a call with the Salvation Army, and those are all over the world. And they said, putting in words, how much Microsoft has helped us. Your team has helped us, because in the past, there was no one. We didn't know where to buy license. We didn't know where to go, where to get technology. So you help us in a way that we can even put into words. So that's the feedback, and that's when you know, yeah, we're helping them to do that extra mile that otherwise they will be on their own and not enough.
And that has to be really rewarding, right?
It is. It is. It's a good feeling. Not every day is like unicorns and rainbows. There is no such thing. But when you go on meetings like this and you see that people are so grateful, I think the word is they feel grateful that you exist and you're there to be part of their mission. And I make sure I always tell them, thank you for letting me be part of your mission, because I want to see what technology can do for you. And that's when you see, okay, I come home and I did something bigger for the world. I contribute to something.
Absolutely. So going back to something you mentioned before, you said we are a corporation, right? And I think it's fair to say that Microsoft and other big corporations, we play an important role in today's world and economy. Microsoft specifically over the years has developed, lots of ways to give back to the communities while also giving employees opportunities, right, to drive that change and create that impact. And I guess, Claudia, my question for you is, what do you think is the role and responsibility, if any, of these organizations in the world?
Yeah, I think we all, and when I say we are the organizations, right? I think we all have a role in this. And not only we should contribute, but we should, for instance, in my team, there is a huge push. I don't know if that's the right word, but or at least encouraging our teammates to contribute, to volunteer, to donations. So I think we all have the social responsibility, because a little you give can make a huge difference, even if we don't see it. So I think we all have that responsibility, and now more than ever. I think poverty has now became, it is now bigger than ever. You leave the house and you look around, and I think first of all you got to understand how blessed you are, how lucky you are. We have special, primary care and essential. We have it. But that's not the case for a lot of people. And I feel COVID is going to impact in a really negative way a lot of families, And so I think more than ever, we should do our part. Is it volunteer? Is it a donation? For instance, we can be volunteers to help kids that are on remote learning. We have that within the company. Every time we do an offsite that we don't do anymore, but we always dedicate one day to volunteer for an organization. Is it packing meals? Is it cleaning? I did it all. I even cleaned, go in the forest and we're cleaning bushes and stuff. So anything they need. And I think every company should, first of all, give their employees that space, because some companies don't. And it's hard because you got to take a day off. So I think on that side, companies need to consider that being part of an employee right. It's to volunteer and to encourage them to go that path. And I think the leadership has to set an example, to my point. It has to come from the top, because we are driven by example. So I think that's how we should start.
It's quite interesting because you touched on COVID. And in the beginning of all COVID stuff, I actually thought, people are paying it more attention. People are becoming more empathetic, and people are looking at their next neighbor more closely. But now, nine months later, I'm like, no, I think this is not happening. So what do you feel that still needs to be done today by corporations, by ourselves? And also, have you identified during your journey in this team, have you identified gaps that no one is looking at today, but needs a lot of attention?
Mm-hmm. So I think the first part of your statement is companies need to create a division like Microsoft did. Philanthropy seems to a team to be able to help those. And you are seeing this more. You're seeing other companies without bringing names, but you see other companies that are creating that. Even our partners, we work a lot with partners. They are creating specific teams that just work with nonprofits. So I think that's the beginning, and from that we can achieve the next mile. In terms of what are the gaps I see is mostly are around resources. So I think the nonprofits don't have the resources to handle technology. So I think that's the first part of it. And there are different challenges, in terms of communication and breaking barriers. For instance, I love Teams a lot. It's like my number one, because you have two things. You break barriers in terms of language and communication through closed captions, to translation services. I work with the UN, so I can see that live working and happening every day around the world, and that amazes me. So we break that barrier in terms of communication to different cultures, and also accessibility. We have a lot of disabled, and there is such a huge part of Microsoft's mission to break those barriers and to feel everyone is welcome and to include everyone. So I think those are the barriers, if you want to call gaps, that I see, is human resources and having the right skills. So there's a lot of things that need to be done in terms of nonprofits, because it's not just enough I'm going to go volunteer. All nonprofits have a structure as a company. They need to have teams. They need to help the volunteers, the full-time employees, the first-line workers. It's the same as a corporation, just works in a different level, and they also understand they are underpaid too. That is another thing. And so I always admire these people because they do a lot with very less. So I think that's something we should, in the future, should be considered, how to make them feel that you're more valuable. Of course, it's all, if you are underpaid after 20 years and you don't have like a comfortable life, maybe you think, I love the mission, but I have kids to raise, I have family. So a lot of people end up leaving that world and join a corporate bit for that same reason. So I think if we do better, and when I say we, it's nonprofits and also corporates helping nonprofits in that sense, providing them with training for free, for instance, and training their people, making them be better at their job in terms of technology, that's going to be a good starting point to mitigate that gap, I'd say.
It's quite interesting because you touched something, and I don't think a lot of people know that a non-profit is organized in the same way as a corporation. So they need to pay salaries, and a lot of people are there by love, pela camisola, like we say in Portugal, than by the money. And I don't think that there's enough awareness. Even myself, I had the pleasure to actually work with nonprofits in my previous role, and it just struck to me when I first spoke with this nonprofit that, oh my God, I didn't know that, but this is a company. They need to pay people. Yeah. And I think there's a lack of awareness to the normal people in the world that nonprofits still hire people, and there's people there that need to feed their family based on the salaries that are paid in this company. So I don't know if there's anything there that can be done to make people more aware that actually there's people who live and breathe from this commitment they've made with their lives and their careers.
Yeah, a lot of people work and just to their heart. It's like something that I'm passionate about, and what I could like for two things. In my team, we all share the same passion about the mission and nonprofit. That's the main factor. We all share some sort of story, or I have coworkers who actually started nonprofits, which is very impressive. And we all have that in common. Someone has a story or a mission or a disease, or there is a cause to their heart. And then I have the volunteers, and when I say volunteers, I also say the first line workers, which are the people who work as in a company that are underpaid, but they all have the same in common. They are passionate about it, and the money is not the number one driven for them. They are driven by other motivations, and I always admire what they can do with not much incentive, if you will, and that's why I think their work is special to me, and I always make sure they know how much I appreciate what they do. And I'm talking about nonprofits that are completely different. I have nonprofits helping women. We have the Black community, Black American community, the BLM, if you will. We have so many different, but you know what? In the end, I always tell them, you all different. I share the same mission, because the mission in the end is the same. You want to do something that is going to be creating a change in the world. It's a little thing, but it's a lot of impact in how you can impact someone's life with little acts of kindness, I would say.
Absolutely. And Claudia, on that note, My Skills for Africa, and you alluded to this before, it's a wonderful program that provides opportunities for folks within Microsoft to impact and to give back to the world. Can you share with us a bit, your experience participating in this program and what it is all about?
Well, it was by far the best experience I had in my life. I can tell you that. So when I was applying for the program, and at the time it had a different name, but it's the same as Skills for Africa. I know there was hundreds of people, and I remember they said that to me, don't keep your hopes up because there's a lot of people. And I said, I know, but I know I'm going to get it because I know how much I want it, and it's going to happen. And I remember where I was. I was in Jordan for a customer, and they called me and they say, I've been selected. And it's no shame. I started to cry. And everybody was like, why would you cry? Because you're selected to go volunteer in the middle of Malawi with nothing around. I was like, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. So I think, as I said, this was a great experience. And it came, as I always say, that nothing happens. There are no coincidences. Okay, so this happened in a very, I would say, not a great moment in my life, in my personal life. And I think when I landed there, and my mindset was not even prepared for what I was gonna see. So it helped me. And I think it would help everyone to get perspective. Perspective about your life. You have all of this, and when I remember first time I went on the orphanage, and I bring some pens and pencil for the kids, and they were using it as spoons to eat, and that broke my heart. And they had nothing, and they kept smiling. And I remember they looked at me and said, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, you know what? They should be the ones crying. They are the only ones that are happy, because 90% of those kids have AIDS transmitted to their parents who died. So it's like, it's bigger than me. So I think if I could give a piece of advice to anyone, is go do this or something. It doesn't need to be Africa. You can do this next to your home. Go do something for your community. Get involved. Understand that there are little things that you take for granted that a lot of people don't have it. So I think it helps you to understand, first of all, how lucky we all are, but gives you perspective about life in general. And I remember I said this, I don't remember last time I felt so completed. You know what? Because I was giving. I didn't expect anything in return at all, not even a smile. And I think that was the best experience for that reason, because I could understand there are other things bigger than us and maybe be less selfish. But also I could see we rebuilt 5 schools, and what we did is not like we rebuilt the school. We bring computers, we connect them to the internet. They had school with the internet for the first time. So when you think about this, like, well, we have internet all the time. We don't have Wi-Fi, and we're like freaking out. We don't have Wi-Fi for 5 minutes. And when you see the kids, well, they were opening Wikipedia for the first time, and you see their faces, like they wanted to smile, and the big smile, like, oh my gosh, you know this, you know this, you know this, like they were learning. And when you open the world for them, you can see that every one of those kids can do something much better. You know, they can do something with their lives. And in Africa, I don't know if you know this, but girls are not as educated because their parents don't see them as equals. So we create the Digi Girls, and we're teaching an entire day just for girls, and how to develop an app. And I tell you this, you give them the tools, and those people are just want to be doing something, and they do it. And they are so smart. It's just they don't have the tools or the meaning. But any kid that you give them the tools to do something, they are so willing to learn that they take every opportunity. And that's the satisfaction you get from, you know what, I gave this kid a computer, and now he can just start to see the world outside and learn. They use that as a learning platform, not to go on like Facebook or any social network. They use this as a learning path. So that's how great it was. Yeah.
Wow. Don't know what to say after this one. So we are about to reach the hour. I didn't even feel the time pass, and we just wanted to finish the conversation in a more giggly and lighter mood.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of like 10 quick questions. Do you prefer this or that? So let's start with the first question. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Coffee all day.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Only dogs.
Movies or books?
Books.
This one is going to be difficult. Pancakes or pastéis de nata?
Pastéis de nata. For sure.
Winter or summer?
Summer all year long.
iOS or Android? This is more geeky.
iOS.
Going out or staying in?
Staying in.
Even now?
Even now.
Where? Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise. Morning person.
Comedy or drama?
Drama.
Shop online or shop in store?
Online, always.
You're a true American.
I'm with you 100%.
This was, I don't know, 51 minutes of such an amazing conversation. I'm definitely living this conversation beyond inspired. And definitely, hopefully, one day I'll be part of a team like yours, or I will be doing some work in my local community that definitely sparked on me. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's quite early for you, even though you're an early bird. But thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey with us. I'm beyond pleased and thankful. I don't know, Tanya, if you want to say anything else before we close up?
Yeah, no, likewise, absolutely. This was such an inspiring conversation, Claudia. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure. And as a last thing I would just like to say about everything I said. Don't wait for Africa. Don't wait for anything. Just go outside, do a little thing, for your neighbor, for someone you see out in the street. One little thing, and you can help someone's life. Give, just give, and that's how you go to the next level. So thank you so much. I hope it was good, and I'll talk to you soon. I hope. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.